All right. Welcome to the Bearded Nomad Van Life Alternator episode number 2. Oh goodness. I got too excited yesterday. I got way too excited that all putting that alternator in and the belt tensioner, everything went way too smooth and I got way too excited. And the universe, I guess, decided, no, too happy, boy, too happy. So last night, after I did that, I drove to Dollar General, drove all the way across Palmyra, one end to the other, and back to go to work. Went to work, 3 to 11, got off at 11 o'clock, stood in the parking lot for a little bit, talking to two of my fellow employees. Get my van fired up, head out the driveway, get out on the main road. And all my gauges just act all freaky and stuff. Battery light comes on, which is the alternator light. I'm like, what the hell? Going back and forth, light on, light off. Then the light came on, stayed on. So I pulled in at Turkey Hill, checking things out, did a little research in Google. Then I brought it in. I thought, well, let's get over to storage. So I got here to my storage unit. So I had my voltmeter, checking the voltage. Get here, I fired it up. Voltage starts off normal, like a working alternator. And then all of a sudden, it just starts climbing. 15, 15.2, 15.4, 15.6, 15.8, 16, 16.5. I think at one point it hit 17 volts. Battery light, alternator light comes on. Gauges all start acting funny. So I turn it off. Start tearing everything apart. Because I'm figuring, okay, it's got to be the alternator, right? Go to touch the alternator and it's that hot I can't keep my hand on it. This was after 2 hours of sitting here with the engine off. The engine's that cold, I could touch everything on the engine, no problem. It was cold. Alternator was still hot, and I mean hot. So, back to Google research I go. Find some forums, people asking questions. One of the responses was something with the regulator malfunctioning in the alternator. And because of it being hooked to the battery, the 12 volt current, making the alternator get very hot. So it said to disconnect the battery, so I did. Disconnected to negative and positive on the battery. Plugged up my shore power with my smart battery charger in the back, in the electric box, to charge my house batteries. Get in the front seat, and I notice my USB charger for my phone charger is lit up. That shouldn't be lit up. My battery's disconnected. What's going on? I thought to myself. So lo and behold, I come up front, make sure the battery terminals that they ain't touching the terminals on the battery. Everything's not touching. And the red light on my battery isolator was on. So I grabbed my voltmeter. Now that battery isolator, it's a one-way street. It's an exit only. I test the side that hooks to the battery, and it's showing the same voltage that my gauge is back at my switch panel. Battery isolator apparently did not like the spike from the bad alternator with the bad regulator. It didn't like that surge. So now today, after walking a mile and a half to get the alternator and put it in my emptied out rock hounding backpack, hiking back here. By the time I got back here, then the rain, it kept off and on rain. So I finally got the alternator all hooked up, all installed, everything back together, fired it up. So far, so good. Not getting excited. No. I could probably, because the two front bottom bolts on the alternator, hand tight, I put everything in by hand so I know I'm not cross threading. Then give it its final little When I did the top one, it got loose. So I hand tighten it down, take the socket, hand tighten it, put the ratchet back on, loose. Take the ratchet off, hand tighten it. Apparently, story of my life. The alternator's gonna work, but apparently the threads in the top bolt for the alternator that goes through the bracket that's mounted to the top of the quarter jacket or whatever it is coming from heater core line and whatnot. Apparently the threads in the alternator housing are shitty, and they partly stripped out. Well, it's tight enough. It's hand tight. I started it. I ran it. I checked it. It ain't loose. I'll get some Loctite. Pull it back out. Put some Loctite on it, and we'll be good. Until I feel like getting a rethread kit and repair the thread in the housing of the alternator, if it's even possible. So, since, imagine that, yesterday, installation went smooth and beautiful, no issues, no problems. Alternator stopped working last night. Now today, little snafu on the threads on the alternator housing, on the top one, which, thank God, I guess luckily that's probably not the most important one out of the three. The two on the bottom front, I'd say, are probably the most important since they're longer and, so that's cool. Good enough for me. I'll get through it. I'll figure it out. I'll get it fixed completely later. But for now, after I got the old alternator off in the middle of early this morning at like 3 a.m., 3:30, when I realized that charger was lit up, which shouldn't have been, and I realized that red light's on, I got all this hooked up, started it, checked it with the voltmeter. Everything seems to be working fine. Plugged in the shore power. Oh, I feel a sneeze coming on. Plugged in the shore power so that the smart battery charger would charge my house batteries. As soon as it got up to charge to where the voltage back on my gauge showed 13.3, I come back up here and the battery isolator light is on. So it was putting juice into my starting battery, which it doesn't need. So lucky for me, I have a spare, because when I bought all my stuff, I bought this one first and got just the smart battery isolator. Then when I needed, I'm gonna need wire. Went to price the wire, 4 gauge and all that, 2 gauge, 2-aught, 2.0. The price on wire was nuts I'm like, huh? Then I found a kit that included the smart battery isolator with all the wire needed to run back to the batteries, to the other batteries, for way cheaper than buying the wire separate, since I already had this one. So I ordered the kit. Figure I'll keep this as a spare. Good thing I did, because now I'm pretty sure that last night's spike from the alternator, it did in my smart battery isolator. So now I'm going to replace it with the spare. Because on the back of this one, it's nice and clean. All the soldered connections on the circuit board are pretty clean, shiny. The one over there, hooked to the battery, there's a lot of burn discoloration around a whole bunch of these. So I'm going to guess, my hypothesis is that the spike from the alternator last night going ape shit did not do my battery isolator any good. Not good at all. Even though because it's only a 12 volt, 140 amp smart isolator, and I was pushing 15 to 17 volts. So now I got to replace this. So that's my next process. And then maybe if I still have energy and feel like it, if the mean bean really kicks in, which I think it's starting to kick in, my last one that I had. I got my ladder racks. I might put them up so that way I can start planning and figuring out to make my awning for when I'm camping somewhere and sitting for a couple of days or two. So I can put up my awning and have a little more square footage right outside my van to cook and whatever else, sit and all that good stuff. So figure I would give an update as from yesterday's video, because like I said, this is alternator episode number 2. So hopefully hopefully second alternator stays working. I'll test it out here in a few hours. I'll start it back up and move my van, and then we'll see what happens from there. Of course, there's no food adventure this weekend because, well, spent money on stuff that I needed and had to get, and bills. Then got the alternator and the belt tensioner. They didn't have my belt in stock, as I said yesterday's video. But now I had to go get the second alternator, which at $184. Well, there went my Texas Roadhouse steak money for this evening. Yeah. So, lucky for me, when I went to Dollar General yesterday, I got me some beef raviolis, canned. So, I had that for my lunch, and I think I might have one more can. That might be my dinner. Or maybe I'll get out the stove and make some burgers. But either way, there's no going out to eat for me, because I got to wait till tomorrow when Napa opens to take that first alternator back and say, give me my money. Take your piece of shit remanufactured alternator. And it's sad, because I've actually, with all the research I did trying to figure out what the hell was going on with the first one that went bad, faulty, bad remanufactured alternators is more common than not. That's sad. Really? I mean, maybe it's the fact that they're remanufactured in Mexico. I don't know. But can you tell me, anybody got any insight on why we can't remanufacture? I mean, this one here that I got from AutoZone, the Duralast, right on their ad. Now, I didn't look up on Napa to see the one I got yesterday. I don't know if it says it, but the one from AutoZone from Duralast, which is a Motorcraft alternator, it's a factory Ford stuff. Right on their website, it says that all the internal components, brushes and all that stuff, is all brand new, 100% new. So can somebody tell me why and how so many alternators are dead units, faulty units right out the gate? I'm thinking that's a bit, that's unacceptable. But yet when I asked the guy at AutoZone, I'm like, well, why don't you have new alternator? I want a new, how about a new alternator? How much is a new alternator? He's like, we don't have them for that. I'm like, why not? They make alternators every day for vans, trucks, the Ford Series trucks. Shouldn't it be the same alternator? Come on, really? Are you telling me that they're changing up the bolt pattern on an alternator? See, that's the problem. They do, because the guy said, they change stuff up and then they stop making the older stuff. You're 2008. They're not making brand new alternators for a 2008. My God, the same alternator was used from 2000 to 2014 or whatever, or 13 or 14, I think, when they stopped making the Econoline cargo vans and went with the Transit, okay? So you're going to tell me that in 6-7 years, oh, they're no longer going to make with all the Ford Econoline that they sold over those years. Millions. You're going to tell me they're going to stop making brand new alternators? So now we have to remanufacture, do remand? Whatever. Sounds like a gimmick to me. Sounds like a setup. I don't know. Probably is, because they want you to go buy a brand new vehicle. Well, I'm not doing that. This is my home. It's a 2008, and I'm keeping it. So that's what I guess I got to deal with. Remanufactured, and it failed right out the gate. You know, I mean, I think technically yesterday's alternator lasted 1 hour. 1 hour of runtime. And when after 8 hours of sitting, which hell, it could have been actually, who knows? Once I felt how hot it was, and then the whole regulator thing and the drawing, it could have been drawing. It could have been having that issue the whole time while I was at work. I don't know. I don't know if it did or not. But if that's the case, that's ridiculous. That after installing it, that it would be bad. So, yeah, that's my rant for that. Sorry, I wasn't gonna rant, but it's amazing. I've noticed two styles of people for YouTube videos. The kind like me and a few others and other people that I know, where we just kind of ramble and it's hard to stay focused. And then there's the real professional looking ones that with all the pretty editing and, well, I think I'm probably one of the few raw guys, because even everybody else that's like me, that makes videos like me, still edits. So, but not me. I don't have the editing software. I'm not paying that much for it. I don't like, I looked at the free stuff. It looks very confusing to me. I'm not a technology kind of person. I'm simple. Maybe someday I'll learn. Maybe that's what it'll take to get my YouTube channel off the ground and actually make me some money later on, after I save up all my work money and build my bank account so I can retire early and travel and enjoy my last years. But I don't know. So yeah, I don't like that. I don't like this video either. I think I'm on take number 6 now. I don't like this one either. Yeah, well, I don't have enough battery time to keep messing with it. So, screw it. This is the one that's getting put on. I don't care. Yeah. So, all right. Well, hope you all have a good weekend. Mine has been very stressful and wasted by work and faulty remanufactured alternator. So I'm going to get to doing this battery isolator, and I'll catch you all on another day when I decide to make another video. So, till then, y'all stay classy, stay cool. It's supposed to get hot. It's going to be miserable. It's going to be real miserable sleeping in this van at night. But, yeah, well, it's all part of van life. I ain't giving it up. I'm focused. I'm determined. I'm doing this. There's no going back. Couldn't afford to anyway if I wanted to. Yeah. Yeah, because that never worked out as I attempted before. But anyway, so yeah. Stay cool. Love you all. Peace out. Enjoy your Sunday evening, or if you end up watching this later, I hope you had a good weekend. Bye, y'all.